Okay, so I've been seeing on YouTube a lot of people posting things about dreams. And I've had a lot of dreams in my life that were, well, they had a feeling of prophetic importance, let's say. Many times I didn't talk about them, many times I wrote them down, many times I kept them to myself. But along about 2010, I had a very strange dream. And in 2010, Obama had just become president, maybe a year before. And I voted for Obama, and I had a lot of faith in him that things would turn out a lot better than they have. But anyway, that's needless to say. I still have a lot of respect for Obama. I think that he seems to be, at his core, a good person, and I I hope that's the case. Anyway, that was my mindset at the time. That reason is why I say that. Um, and I had a lot of hope and faith instilled, and perhaps that mind slant affects or was affecting my psychology at the moment, and it might have also affected the dream. But by the same token, I never really thought that. And I kind of felt like there was something very, very important about this dream. Enough, in fact, that I got up right after I had it and immediately wrote it down, which is not something I usually do. Usually I forget them. But anyway, I'd like to read it to you because I haven't heard anybody's dream. I've heard a lot of Obama dreams, but I don't recall ever hearing a dream that was quite in this vein. So, here we go. Um, I am in the dream and I'm flying a hang glider. And I feel like I'm going to crash. But instead of crashing, I manage to pull that hang glider up and I make it fly. And it feels really, really good to me that I've succeeded in survival. um, as I'm flying around for a while, I feel the need to land. And I know that if I land just anywhere, I won't be able to fly again. So I'm flying, looking for a place to set myself up to fly again, meaning a cliff or on a mountainside or something like that. So I find a cliff and I land on it. And let's see. And when I'm there, I notice hang on, got a weird thing on my thing. I notice something off to my right-hand side catches my eye, and I look over there, and I take off, and I swoop back to the right to kind of see what that is. And I notice that there's a rock face with a cave in it, and it's under a rock and it's kind of hidden and it's long and it's deep. And I look into the cave as I'm flying by, and it looks as if I can see all the way through to the other side of the mountain. And it feels like there's an opening there. And I have this idea that I want to fly into it. I notice as I'm kind of turning that way that there's a small boy or a dwarf that emerges from the cave, and he says, "There's not an exit here. Even though it looks like there might be, there's not an exit here." And then suddenly I notice as I keep flying that there's another cave. And this cave is kind of parallel to the opening of the other one, but further down. And let's see. And it seems like the cave is carved by water. Again, I don't know what all of these symbols mean. The symbology here could be significant, it could be nothing. I've never had anybody attempt to interpret this for me. But it seems like the cave has been carved by water, and it's through solid granite, I note. And I can definitely see through to the other side. So this time, I fly into it, and I go into it. And I emerge into what is a building. And the building has a bizarre motif about it, meaning the architectural decoration is kind of strange, it's odd, it's peculiar. And to me, I note that it's kind of ugly, actually. So I say it's ugly in the dream, and then I see an article of paper floating. And the article of paper, like an old newspaper, it for some reason it made me believe that the paper was in the building, and it was there about the time that the building was built, about 1899 to 1900, turn of the 20th century. So I'm suddenly not, involved with a hang glider anymore, and I'm walking through this building. And I wander through the spaces, and I come upon a little antique walnut desk. And beside it are receipts for some reason. And I've been looking for for a long time, and it makes me happy that I found them. So I start singing. Strangely enough, I'm a songwriter and a singer, and I start singing a variation of an Eagles song. I don't remember what it is, but it's a soulful interpretation of an old Eagles song. Don't ask me what that means. But I look up after looking at this desk and finding this paper and start singing, and I see Obama there. And he's standing behind the desk. And he has this very numb, blank, painful expression on his face. Just kind of, it's like you're filled with agony, and you don't. It's surprise, it's pain, it's disbelief, it's heartache. It's something, but it's obvious that this expression on his face is something that's disturbing, and it disturbs me because I'm kind of an empathetic person. I can sense pain in people pretty easily. So let's see. He's non-blank expression on his face, and I know something is wrong. So I ask him, "What's wrong?" Quite honestly, pretty simple. And it turns out that he answers that Michelle is dead. His wife is dead, Michelle Obama. And it feels incumbent upon me to console him. And when I do, I like put my arms around him and I hold him because I know that he's in pain. And he breaks down in tears. And I totally understand. And he cries, and he cries, and he cries, and he cries. And then we're suddenly thrust at the White House, and we're at a gathering for Michelle's funeral. There's a lot of black people there, and there's a woman that I know that I've seen before, but I don't recall who she is. And I write down in my note here that it's she's a loving and a good person. It almost seems like I can't remember her name, but she was the the state poet, and she's dead. I can't. God, it's right on the tip of my tongue. But she died a couple of years ago. But it almost seems like it might be her. And we have this conversation between us for a minute, poet to poet, I guess, and I tell her that she looks familiar to me, and I think she's a friend of my mother's for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. And I'm concerned, deeply concerned about Obama. Now, I didn't write what else occurred, but I got up and I scribbled all this down. But when this was for the details of some very strange symbols. I don't know what they all mean. But strongly in my heart and in my mind, after I wrote all this down, I had this impending sense of warning that this was a dream that had a link of prophecy with it, and this is what it told me. Believe it or not, was that there was more to this dream that I didn't write down, and this is the part that I didn't write down. When the funeral was over, Obama was whisked away to Colorado. And the essence of the idea was that when I saw Obama being moved from D.C. to Colorado, and it would have been the NORAD facility out there or someplace underground out there, that it was time to head for the hills because all hell was getting ready to break loose. And for what it's worth, I just felt the need to put this out there. And I had this dream about May or June of 2010. So, for what it's worth, maybe somebody can make head and tails out of it or sense out of it or something like that. But the whole thing boils down to Michelle being killed. And I also had it in here, or it almost felt like natural causes, like she died, and it was just something that happened, and it just tore him up. And when I saw him leaving Washington or moving from Washington, going to Denver or to Colorado Springs, and going into an underground facility, it was the key to tell me that it was time to get the hell out of America and run for the hills because everything was getting ready to break down. So that's the point of it. I hope it helps. I hope somebody comments, and I hope somebody can maybe have a interpretation of it from a detached standpoint. Thanks for listening. I'm Rod.